What's up, YouTube? I'm Michael, and behind the camera is not Ellie. This is going to be a surprise project for Ellie, which means I get to do all of it by myself. Let's get to it. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to make her something for Valentine's Day, and this is going to be a lot of firsts for me. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer one of these onto a piece of wood, and then I'm going to make an epoxy globe out of it with the heart inside. So I've never cast anything in epoxy before in resin. And then I'm also going to turn it on the lathe, which I've never done before. So that's going to be kind of cool. The first thing we're going to do is find us some wood, and I'm going to show you how we transfer this. Where I got the idea of how to transfer this onto wood was from Brad Rodriguez at Fix It Build It. He's on YouTube, and I'll provide a link to his channel down below in the description. Alright, so I'm going to use this piece of 1/4-inch plywood for the heart, and I'll do that on this side. I'm going to leave this side with the grain on it so that you can see it'll be nice and pretty. And then this will be the base, and I'll probably cut this like 3.5 by 3.5, and then I'll turn it. But when I turn it, I'm going to have to turn it with something like this on the back. There's a little tinion on it, so I have something to grab on my lathe while I'm doing it. But first, I'm going to get this set up so that I can do the heart, figure out what size heart I want to use, and get that transferred. Let me show you how that works. Now, Brad had a couple methods for doing this. One was acetone, one was polyacrylic, another one was a product made to do it, and then the other one was a laser engraver. But the one I liked the most was the polyacrylic, which he liked the most as well. So I need to pick out which one of these I want to use. Probably going to use this one. It's just about 2 inches. That way I'm not making it too big. So I'm going to cut this one out, just the heart itself, and then we're going to transfer it to this, and then we'll cut that out. And you know what? It's not going to work because I printed it wrong. I didn't mirror it. Okay, got it fixed. You got to do it mirrored because I got to put it on there like that. So let's cut this out. Oh, this is perfect. All right, here we got a better piece. And it's got nice green on the back. All right, so first thing we need to do is put some polyacrylic on. You don't ever want to shake your poly. You just stir it. Don't shake it like you would normal paint. It must be a fairly new product. They must have just put this on the shelf. There we go, nice and wet. Pick the right one that you can't read. You know, it's really cool. That's pretty close to the size I need. Alright, so we need to change all this out. Oh, look at that. Come right off. Excellent. Now we need to try to get a tinion in it. Alright, so now that I have this all put together, I'm going to make sure that I get my tinion down small enough. I need a, this will open up to 2.5 inches, but I want to get it a little bit smaller than that. And then I also want to try to, make it angled back in, bevel it back in towards this piece. It helps hold it better. Put my Novichok on. Alright, to finish this process, toothbrush and warm water. You're supposed to be able to just brush the paper off, and then the ink will stay on the wood. So let's see. It's just not dark enough, is it? You can't really read. Oh, you can't really read the most. Can't really read any of it. It kind of all went away. Then what if I take the heart I was originally going to use and I glue it on there? So I got to get this done because I need time for that epoxy to do the epoxy in layers, because that's just the type of epoxy I have. And I gotta get going so I can try to get this done. Let that dry for a little bit. So in the meantime, I can build my mold for this. To do that, I'm just gonna take this 2-liter bottle, cut it up. I'm gonna use the flat pieces of plastic. Last minute change of plans. Since I have to pour it in layers, I'll do the first layer. I'll do 3/8 of an inch at a time, 3/8 to a half inch at a time. I'll do the first layer, and then I'll just stick this in there, hold it up straight, pour the next layer, and it'll be a floating heart. All right, so now I need to find an epoxy calculator. Diameter is 3 3/8, 3.75. And thickness, I want to do 0.5, 3.06 ounces. Here's the amount of mixed resin you need. So 3.06 ounces. So I need 1.53 of each per set. Multiple pours in thickness. Pouring large masses of resin in a single pour will generate heat. May cause discoloring of the resin. If you wish to pour thick sections, it's highly recommended to pour in layers waiting 4 to 6 hours between coats. Multiple pours can be done at a maximum of 3/8 to a half inch thickness, waiting for each layer to gel prior to pouring the next layer. Subsequent coats beyond 48 hours requires light sanding. So I can go 1.5 and 1.5. Looks like we're only doing 1 ounce at a time. Interesting. So you mix until no swirls are seen, and then you pour slowly. Alright, so this has had time to cure. And I let it sit inside. And what I did was, these two worked out really well. For some reason, this third section got really cloudy, and so did the fourth. And then I said, you know what, I'm getting bubbles, I'm getting air in it, so they say apply heat. I don't have a heat gun or a hairdryer, so what I tried to use was a little personal heater. And I had set it on 75, and you can see it did pretty good here, but there's bubbles. You can see some bubbles up against the heart. And I did that with these layers, but this last layer, it's thicker. I used a little bit more. I was using 1 ounce of each on all of these. This one I used 1.5, which was the last little bit I had. For some reason, I only get 7.5 ounces of part A, instead of a full 8 ounces by weight. Don't know what that's about. And I also turned the heater up to 80 instead of 75, and you can see it kind of did a concave thing in here. But anyway, it's all nice and hard, ready to go. So I'm going to peel this off, put it on the lathe, and see how well it turns. Kind of oblong, but hopefully we can straighten that out. Let's go to the lathe and see what we got. I'm using a Nova Chuck. Get that tight. Okay. Again, this is the first time I've ever done this, so I don't have all the fancy tools. They got rubber balls and all kinds of stuff where they can put on here where they hold this together, and I don't have any of that. So let's just try to use what we got, and I'll try to be very, very careful. Really careful. Oh, nice and tight. This is ash, so that's a good thing. It's be nice and strong. All right, wish me luck. That's why you put a centerpiece on it. Alright, so I gotta come up with something different. Because that's not gonna work. And this is already shattered, so I gotta be careful, really careful now. I'm just gonna have to deal with the point at the end of it, because I'm not doing that again. Alright, so the plan here is I'm going to use a dry sanding 500 foam pad and then 1500 on the wood. I don't want to wet sand the wood. I'll probably get it a little wet, but I'm going to try not to. So I'm going to use the foam pads for the wood, and then I will wet sand this with my micro mesh and hopefully get that down to 12,000, and hopefully this will shine up. We'll see what happens. Again, this is the first time I've ever done this, so here we go. Alright, here we go. Alright, wet sanding's done. Now, we're going to try what I do with my pens and use some glass polish on it. Oh, looks like it dulled it up actually. Doesn't like the glass cleaner, so let's try something else. Plastics. Now I'm going to try this just because this is supposed to be a protective coating. I'm going to see what Renaissance wax does with epoxy. I'm thinking that this may help with, UV to keep it from turning yellow. Now we need to get the tinting on. I cheated. And I think the reason it didn't work last time is because I didn't let it sit long enough. At the bottom, I have this one. It's another little poem. And I also used a card to press it down. He did not. He used his fingers. Alright, so this is dried for over an hour. And last time he let it dry for an hour, he used warm water and a soft toothbrush, and he also peeled it off. So I did things a little differently, and this time let's see how we do. See if I can even peel it off. No, but I'm going to use my finger instead of the toothbrush to get it wet and start peeling it off. Maybe it'll come off pretty easily, but leave the ink. Let's close this out. Now I learned quite a lot making this. Number one, don't use casting epoxy when you're doing something this big. Casting epoxy is only for something that's probably 3/8 to a 1/2 inch thick. So you want to use some deep pour, something that is made for large turnings like this. Also, you want to use some kind of directed heat source. A directed heat source puts heat into the epoxy after you pour it, and it gets all the bubbles out. I didn't get all the bubbles out. Now adding the heat a little bit with the personal heater did get a lot of the bubbles out, but you can still see the lines and you can see a couple of the bad mixings. Don't reuse your mixing cups. That's another thing. Don't reuse your mixing cups. That's where all this came in. And find a different way to hold the end if you're turning, because it caused a crack. Caused a nice little crack right here. And you'll see that in the pictures at the end. I have to practice on my little label making skills. I think one thing that I did mess up on as well, the reason it's like this, is because Dan also mentioned using a laser printer, not an inkjet printer, and my printer's an inkjet printer, so that's why it's so faded, and it's not going to be really easy for her to read. So nor is it easy for her to read what's in the heart. So what I'm going to do is I'll make up a card to go with it, and I'll put both of these in the card. I learned a lot from this. It taught, and it, you know, I think she'll like it because I made it, and it's kind of cool. I mean, it's something new that I tried. If you have any comments, please leave them below and help me out, because I'd like to try this again, but next time I think I'll spring for the more expensive stuff. Again, this was the first time doing it, so I didn't spend a lot of money. I spent 30 bucks to make this, and the next one would be a lot more if I used like a deep pour turning epoxy. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something with me. And again, please comment, because I always love to learn something new all the time. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Hit the notification bell so you'll know when we send out new videos. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks. We love you.